Limitless is a movie where the main character, after taking some unspecific pill, becomes extremely intelligent through being able to use 100% of his brain power. Because of that, he is able to become a millionaire in just few days by seeing complicated patterns in stock market. Moreover, he becomes able to learn any language by just half listening to it, complete the book in just few days, get out from his terrible position in life, and also as a side effect become extremely charismatic and attractive. How close can we actually get to the effects of NZT-48 pill from a movie Limitless? Today, with the help of scientific researches and current knowledge, we will try to answer this question and check how much we can actually do to reach the closest possible effect to this famous pill. The first and obvious effect after this pill is that the main character sees a world more brightly and sees more colors. Of course, the normal world in the movie already is slightly darker and the colors aren't that bright. Nevertheless, the effects like this might occur after microdoses of psychedelics, like for example famous LSD. The brain tunes up brightness, contrast and color saturation through acting primarily on 5-HT2A receptors in the visual cortex. This causes increased activity of some neurons and also greater information flow between vision and memory and emotion areas, which causes vision like this. Then, in the next scene with the girlfriend of the house owner, he suddenly reminds the content of law book which he was reading many years ago in the university and offers to help the lady. This can be again an effect of psychedelics, which are even used in some diseases for reconstruction and recall of autobiographical memories, mostly emotional and traumatic, for example during PTSD. They also straighten top-down connectivity, and this is a connection between memory and vision brain elements. Although that sounds like psychedelics have some superpowers, but in neuroscience nothing is that easy, because people after taking psychedelics might have really bad journey, bad experiences, and even stuck in a negative trip for days, or do not remind some hidden deeply in our memory information, but say and remind complete bullshit which never actually happened. Moreover, it can completely destroy your system of reward, so I do not recommend ever to use that. The art of reminding information is something that we can train almost every day, because for example, such easy stuff like constant reinstatement, which is mental or physical replay of context of coding information in our memory, and this is one of the strongest and most powerful way to remind information, by the way, but also the entire learning process should be focused on being able to quick reminding of information rather than passive revising, which everyone literally does. The way how you study the information have a massive impact. Will you be able to revise them in the future? Because your absolute number one priority should be to do tests. Test everything instantly after getting to know the material. Scientific researches show clearly that doing tests instead of passive revising can increase the number of remembered information by over 50%. Yes, you heard me right. Not 15, 50. And people who do tests instead of passive revising paradoxically learn less, feel that they are less prepared, but simultaneously get better grades. So that's the most powerful advice which I can give you if you want to remind information quickly. And mostly now, when we have all these tools which can help us to do quick tests, like for example, all kinds of AI, ChatGPT, where you can just put your documents, notes, and it will do for you a complete good test which you can modify for your own use. And the first stuff which Eddie does after getting back to his apartment is cleaning the entire house. And paradoxically, this is a very good advice which you can do when you have absolutely zero motivation or you do not know where to start. Most people live in a mess and chaos which then transfer to their heads. But doing that small step, which is cleaning your own environment, can already inspire you to more changes, and this is well proven by science. This ends the procrastination and laziness loop and actually let you finally head into a right direction. This is also a normal advice which people with depression hear where they do not know where to start. Just clean your room, and this is so underrated. Another effect of NZT pill is a sudden ability to learn things in a matter of days. He learned how to play the piano in 3 days. He becomes able to learn languages by just half listening to them. He feels incredible energy and clarity of mind, and even finishes his book in 4 days. Energy and mind clarity is of course an effect of many different factors, but if you already mastered stuff like sleep, diet or sport, but I mean really mastered, sleep over 7.5 hours, eat food rich in nutrients which your brain really needs. By the way, video is in the description and it's on my channel. And move more than just go to the gym 2-3 times a week, you can already try something more advanced. Like for example, mushroom stack, which supports vital energy and long cognitive work. These species of mushrooms might differ, depends what you want to achieve, but in general, the adaptogenic mushrooms effects are already well proven in science researches, and they can really improve your clarity of thinking or energy during the day. I also use my own stack, and I can say now that I'm really happy from results. I've been using them for a few months and I can see some change in the levels of energy during my day and also in the clarity of my mind. I do not get brain fog anymore, even though I already mastered a lot of different stuff simultaneously. As I said, sleep, food, movement. This is all things which I also took care of, but I think the mushrooms gave me even few extra boost to my total cognitive skills and to my total energy levels during the day. So I definitely recommend them. Okay, but can we speed up our learning process? And a lot of people claim that by using nootropics, like for example famous in the last year's modafinil, they could increase the speed of their learning. But the truth is much more brutal, because most of nootropics which were actually researched didn't show any significant change in the speed of learning. And don't get me wrong, yes, modafinil works, but only for people who already have some cognitive deficits. It was, for example, proven that this can work when you didn't sleep well, when you are tired, or when you suffer to some neurological diseases. Oh, also for people with IQ below 115. But if you are good with your diet, sleep and other basic stuffs, it really doesn't make any difference. And I mean any. But does it mean that there is not any way to speed up the learning process? And absolutely not. But the answer is much less sexy. Because what you can do are proven in meta-analysis and neuroscientific researchers' learning techniques, which are much more efficient than just passive contact with the material. For sure, a lot of you heard about active recall and spaced repetition, which also, despite of course easier reminding of information and better availability for usage, also speed up the retention of information and lower the number of needed revisions. Even if you try to retrieve information from depth of your memory and you came out with the wrong answer, it's still much more beneficial for you than just passive revising. Moreover, actually, mistakes straighten your synaptical connections. Of course, if you then have access to a correct answer. Which helps also are short breaks in studying, which helps you to retrieve lost during the cognitive work neurotransmitters. For more advanced people, I of course recommend working and doing breaks with your natural brain cycles, 1.5 hours of work and 10-15 minutes break. But if the material is too demanding for you, you can use easier and shorter Pomodoro technique, which is just 25 to 30 minutes of studying and then 5 minutes of break. Of course, during the break, you shouldn't do stuff which lower your attention span or dopamine level, like scrolling or eating sweets. But if you do, for example, a simple walk or just window staring, it's already a very good idea. Another effect which we can see in the movie is Eddie becoming much more outgoing and completely not anxious around other people in social situations. And this effect obviously can be reached through a very, very famous substance called ethanol, but obviously we all know how much negative side effects it does have. However, if you do not want to smell like an alcoholic and destroy every organ of your body, some people use something called baclofen, which is a substance affecting the GABA system. Speaking specifically, it's GABA B agonist, which gives effect of relaxation, muscles, lowering the anxiety, and in general, similar effects to chill and social ease like alcohol, but without heavy drinking and without hangover. Well, obviously this substance also have negative side effects. It's a medicine, so it shouldn't be used without a prescription. And similarly to alcohol, it can also cause sleepiness, dizziness, tiredness, or muscle weakness. But that's true that in a lot of environments it's already used as a substitute of alcohol with really similar effects. What Eddie can also do is maintain a focus for a very long period of time, like entire days, which also probably helps him to learn things so quickly. And that has two different sides. From the one hand, psychologists agree that for being better than 90% of the society in something, simply saying just be good, you need to spend only 20 hours on that. You won't be on the level of an expert, but for sure you will already become a good at it and better than most part of the humanity. It applies for playing instruments, knowing the subject, for example, investing, learning how to paint, etc. To a level of an expert, you will probably need hundreds more hours, but for being just good, you do not need to enormous amounts of time. And if you can keep focus and cognitive abilities for multiple hours during the day, for sure it can benefit every other area of your life. And for this, the best solution number one, which probably 99% of people who watch this video will ignore, is to stop scrolling, stop consuming short content, TikToks, YouTube Shorts, Instagram Reels. These are massive destroyer of your focus and attention span, but if you already are more advanced, there are some tools which can help you to maintain long-term focus. Of course, if you remember to stop scrolling or just limit this activity massively. For example, in Russia, it was created a peptide which was meant to help people who need to maintain their focus for really long hours, like fighter jet pilots, tanks drivers, or snipers. This stuff is called Semax, and scientific researchers has proved that it can really boost focus and alertness during long sessions of work. But the problem is that outside of Eastern Europe, by the way, where I live, it's quite hard to get that. Moreover, in many countries, this isn't even considered as a medicine. However, in Eastern Bloc, this was used on thousands and thousands of people, and its medical effectiveness was already proven. Most common way of use the Semax is a spray to the nose, and however, right now it's used mostly by Eastern European students who use this before exam sessions. However, it's really nice to know its origins, that it was really used for soldiers, for fighter jet pilots, etc. So it was really meant to be effective. Well, we already described all the most important effects from the movie Limitless. So by the way, if you like my content, in the description of this video, you will find a link to a free training where I will teach you how you can step by step plan your day to make it as productive as never and completely max your cognitive skills, that you will be able to finish your entire day of work in maximum 3 hours. This isn't bullshit, these are real effects of my followers. So if you want to be part of brain maxing change, feel free to see my free training from the link in the description. Thank you very much for watching this video. Of course, subscribe, like and comment. See you later. Ciao, ciao.